Welcome back, everyone. Going into the second part here of the final episode of Roleplay Mirrorshades. Adam, where are we going next?
Well, let's see where Bonbon's at. So, Bonbon, where do we see you next? This whole job was like for you, right? So you could pay off the Ares Corporation for your hand that you lost in Japan. Once
Yeah,
it's all gone down and Moto's paid you off, where are you? Where do we see you?
well, the funny thing about that is that, even though the job actually covered quite a bit of the arm, there was interest and like
Yeah, of
there were all this
course.
like labor to install it and shit because it's practical like
Upgrades.
surgery, right? So there was like a few more jobs that like had to be done after the fact. But of course, having almost died like twice in a row, I asked them only for like desk hack jobs. I was
Right.
like, I only want to do something that I could do from a safe location. And, I think in Bonbon's head, that was also partially to the fact that like Breakdown was not even supposed to be on the last mission. Like like even when shadow running, I could not keep Breakdown out of it. And so I think coming off the last mission, there was a lot of even people in Reddit and whatnot were talking about. There was a song released recently about the panic of Breakdown. And if anything changed for me from like Tokyo on, it was like playing a game that's intended to be a team game, but you're still an individual. And at the end of the day, on a shadow running team, I would probably not give two shits about another person if he just died if I got out okay. But then suddenly I was like playing for two. And so that like really affected Bon coming out of it because, well, I mean, for obvious reasons, right?
So do we see Bonbon? Do we get like a vignette of Bonbon doing these runs, and like you've kind of become the person that other teams call when they're in trouble, right? They like call you and they're like, "I need someone to hack this facility." So are you kind of like taking the offsite hacker route?
Right, right. Like in fact, Bon pretty much just becomes like a circle, right? She becomes a pretty well-known contact, at least for like someone who's always willing to get their hands dirty and there's always a challenge, but will never is like quickly turns into that. I only have to ever do a job that I can do from the safety of.
So does that happen by way of the like? Do you finally kind of get a chance to embrace the Gordians, the children of Kobayashi? Remember, you like undid the knot. Is that how you get in this position? You become a fixer through them.
Um, yeah, I mean, I actually think that might be a point of contention when it comes to Bon and
Mm,
Breakdown, in that, like, that's a really deep rabbit hole to go down.
yeah.
But I don't necessarily need to go down. So I mean, I don't know if you want to like flip to Breakdown, but I think at whatever point when we are talking about, we always had the discussion about giving it up, but I think like that was one of the points where it's like, if I do this, then I'm basically choosing that life versus another life that I could choose, that I have the option to choose.
Okay. Well, let's catch up with Breakdown, and then I want to like see the scene between the two of you like having that conversation. So after I mean Breakdown, obviously things have changed pretty dramatically for you.
Yeah.
Um, so you and I talked a little bit about kind of where we might see Breakdown next. Where is that? Is it like are you on another run, or are you like at home, or where's the next time that we see Breakdown?
Uh, so for me, I've hit this point where I don't, I almost feel like I have to atone for the things that happened on this last mission, right? Like there were things that I definitely acknowledge I wanted them to happen, but then once they were actually happening, it was like, this isn't who I am. This isn't who I want to be. But at the same time, I know that I don't belong with Dove anymore. So I've wound up in this place, at least like directly after the the mission. I went back to my clinic job,
Hmm.
right? Like I was like, I need to be helping people again. I don't need to be using magic. Like I can do it without magic, just as long as I'm trying to better people and help them. But fairly often, I still see a little raven.
Yeah,
He
yeah. Like
still talks to me.
we see breakdown, and you're in that. We've seen this before in that kind of like consistently stressed out state. You know, sleeves rolled up, blood on your hands. There are people like you're in a crowded. There's a crowded like waiting room as we pan through, and I think that we see breakdown looking kind of like worn down. You've just come out of like trying to help somebody,
I haven't
and
slept in a while.
yeah, yeah,
Exhausted.
yeah. And I think somebody in the waiting room like starts an argument with like a nurse or an orderly or something. There's some like shouting that draws your attention. Everyone in the room kind of gets tense. And there's this guy, this like ganger who's come in here. I don't know, maybe he's been shot or like stabbed or something, and he wants attention. And the nurse has been like, "No, no, sir, you have to wait your turn." And this big like tough like tattooed looking orc pulls out a gun, and he's like, "You're gonna help me right now," and like points it at the nurse, and everything kind of like slows down as we like cut over to breakdown, and we hear the like the clicking of Raven's little claws, and we see next to you on the counter, yeah, Raven just kind of like looks up at you, and is like, "You want me to blow him up for you?"
Like,
Man, this guy's just like shouting, and like pointing his gun around and waving it. Everyone's scared, and like it's all this like, and people are like looking around like they don't know what to do, and like Lone Star
right.
doesn't come out here. This is a bad place.
Um, so in that moment, it like kind of clicks for me, and I look at Raven and I say, I want us to work together, but it has to be on my terms. Like
Yeah.
like will you let me take care of this with your help?
Yeah, and I think Raven like kind of tilts his head up at you and kind of like looks at you in a way that he hasn't before, and he chuckles in that kind of like bird laughing kind of whispery way, and he's like, "Yeah, that's more like it. All right, we'll work together." And he like there's a flap of black feathers as he like jumps up onto your shoulder. And things start to kind of like come back into full speed again. And how does Breakdown react? What do you do? And feel free to like you use magic, but you can describe it however you want. What do you do? So this ganger is like shoving his gun in this terrified nurse's face, and he's like, "Give me some fucking drugs."
So I walk right up to him, like fully accepting this feel of like being able to overpower this guy. Like
Yeah, and I think as you move, there's probably like some kind of like black like feather effect that like drifts
totally.
behind you.
Totally, yeah. And you can see like my eyes have cleared up at this point, but you can see like the black start to kind of like crawl in on the
Tendrils.
corners. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I walk right up to this guy. I grab the gun in one hand. I put my hand up toward his face and control emotion him and just turn him into like a serene puppy immediately.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. Okay, yeah. So you just walk over and put the gun, your hand in the gun, and he's like, "What the fuck are you?" And then he just kind of goes like, and like kind of like slumps to his knees, and then just mumbles like, "I'm sorry, I'm just gonna have a nap now," and he like lies down. And I think that the energy in the room, like people like are still quiet and they look at you, and there's this mix of like not like they're thankful that the situation is over, but they're all a little uncertain of whether things have gotten better or worse. Like they're a little
Right.
like, "Oh wow, that was really scary. Like you just like broke that guy." And you're just like holding the gun, and yeah, and I think maybe like as like that particular scene comes to, and we just hear like Raven just like laughing happily, like just gnawing on your shoulder, and like there's a sense. And so when the last thing we see maybe is like Breakdown's face. So what is the look on your face before the scene, like with the sound of the bird laughing and like?
Oh, I look like there's definitely a flicker of like happiness there. I was just
Mm,
like I overpowered this guy, didn't have to kill him. I made the situation better and like we can go on with like treating people. Like I didn't have to kill this guy and I still got to like handle it, like
yeah.
be the guy who handles it.
Yeah, yeah, just this like little like the edge of a smile on the like
Mhm.
corner of your mouth before we cut the scene. Cool. I like that. So, where do we see Bonbon and Breakdown together again
So
next?
I think maybe even literally the day that this happens,
Mhm.
like Breakdown Breakdown comes home and finds Bonbon like pacing a path into the floor. And when Breakdown comes in, I think Bonbon's like, Breakdown, we have to talk.
Okay.
So I want to see just real quick because I want to get a good mental image of this. So how does the apartment look different? Because before it was like pigeons and like fluffy gray feathers all over the place and a big like throne made out of ammo boxes. How is it different now?
The second that we came back from that mission, I looked at also and when, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I felt like I didn't deserve to have them in my home anymore. So I opened up the door to their bird pen and just left it open and decided, you know what, if they want to stay here, they can stay here, and if they don't want to stay here, then they'll leave. And
so there are just these like empty cages in the apartment with the doors open.
Also stayed. Also is still there. But yeah, and basically
just also up on a bookshelf, just too stupid to leave, just kind of just being like,
yeah, totally. It's just like, I mean, they feed me here, I guess.
Yeah,
like,
can't
it's
leave.
cool.
It can't find the window.
But pretty much all of the dev stuff is gone.
Yeah.
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 It still has a hacker's touch to it, but you can tell that at least it's a shared living space.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I mean, I don't want you to get mad at me. I just want you to hear me out. I have to make a suggestion. You know that I've been doing my best.
Do I need to sit down?
I mean, I'm going to keep standing up and talking, but you can sit down.
No. I'll stay standing. If you're going to stay standing, I'll stay standing.
All right. I'll try not to move around too much. So, I've been keeping my nose clean and
oh my God! What?
No,
happened?
I told you to not get mad. You have to wait.
I'm not
done.
mad. I'm just emotionally preparing myself.
No.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'll let you finish.
I've been asked to join an organization, and although I've been able to keep myself safe, like it would provide for us a very, 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 I cannot stress exactly how many zeros I saw, very posh lifestyle for us here in Seattle. We can get a new place. Like it would be amazing. But to be honest, I feel like I just want to get the fuck out of here. And I think, we should just move back to Tokyo. I think we should get away from everything. I think you could open a new clinic there. I think I could work for my father and do legitimate work. And a year ago, I was the girl who just wanted to hack everything, but I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to put you in danger anymore. So I don't want to do it. Let's move to Tokyo. All right, now you can get mad at me. Say whatever you want. I'm done.
I mean, they need metahuman clinics in Tokyo. I could definitely open one up there. Is that what you really want to? You really want to just pick up and move? That's what you want to do?
I mean, if I feel like I stay here, then it's just going to be more of the same shit. And although I don't mind some of the work we're doing, I think it could be a really good fresh start.
Yeah. Okay, let's do it.
And I think that's immediately arriving in fucking Tokyo. Yeah.
Montage of Shiwase Square and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe you run and hug Breakdown, and then it cuts to how much later is this? You're just in Tokyo, or is this new life in Tokyo? So you're dressed differently and
No, I think this is literally just in. I mean, right? We were just fuck it.
I'm like,
Yeah, no, I mean, we can jump ahead to see like, because I want to see what life is like for the two of you in Tokyo. Like, I want to see like you.
Maybe,
Let's assume like you have legitimate work and.
Maybe the reflection that I saw in the window was actually Bonbon walking behind me.
You know, I too.
I was actually gonna make a goof like one day, like after the clinic is established and everything. You know, I like step outside for a second. I'm like, is that? No, why would he be here? And just go back in.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
So I think I think maybe when we arrive, we you know, kind of enjoy. Maybe it even turns into a little vacation, and we, you know, like take some time off, and maybe like in that we happen to run in and bump into a familiar face.
Yeah. Okay. So you're, I think you're at a, because you're doing the like the kind of like tourist trip through Japan thing, and so maybe you're at like one of those like mountain like shrines or something in Kyoto, and it's like it's snowing, and maybe you've just taken like a Polaroid of like breakdown under one of the big orange gates, and then there's this voice, this like
Going like,
yeah, there's this voice behind you that it's like a high pitched like girl's voice, but trying to be like low pitched and like tough. And it's in Japanese, and we get the subtitles. We're like, "You motherfucker! I can't believe you came back here. The nerve!" And it's like obviously addressing you.
I turn around, like half expecting to just be killed right there.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Totally.
well, there's still a couple people who could be our enemies. And I think I turn around, and when I see who it is, I try to go with that, like, oh, I'll just act like everything's totally fine, and like, Gold Star.
Yeah, so there's a gang of like teenage girls. Now they're older than the last time we saw them. They're like, you know, 15 or 16 now. And they're all wearing like maid outfits, and they have like, you know, like spiked collars, and like they're kind of like tough like biker maids is their like thing. She's got an eye patch with a skull and crossbones on it. And they all have like katana, and many of them have guns. And there's like a half dozen of them, and she's standing there like arms folded, like scowling at you. And so we get the like the tight like zoom on her face, and she's got like a big scar underneath the eye patch.
I think the first thing I say is, that's a pretty cool scar you got there.
So she walks over to you, and there's all we get is the like crunching of her like huge platform boots in the snow as she walks over to you. And there's a moment where she just stares at you with her like one good eye as like snowflakes fall past the two of you. And she's like, again in Japanese, so we get subtitles for everything. She's like, "It's not Gold Star anymore. They call me Black Skull now." And then it like snaps back, like pulls back to the group, and they all like do like a tough guy pose when she says her name. Yeah.
All right, Black Skull it is.
And she like snaps her hand and like pokes you in the chest, and she's like, "You abandoned me, cousin. I will never forget that." And like gives you an angry face.
I'm like, I immediately go, well, you know what? You got the scar. Look what I got. And then I like do my little, you know, all my finger compartments come out, and it does a little thing. I'm like, I lost the whole arm.
And I think that there's a moment where she looks at you, and you can hear like maybe breakdown. You hear like some guns like get like cocked, like hammers go back, and like they're like holding their guns, like the gang's ready to see if there's gonna be a fight.
Immediately, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say I immediately like run right next to Bonbon and put my hand in front. I'm like, you can't. She's
and Gold Star like looks you up and down, Bonbon, yeah, and you're like, you can't. And then she like looks at you. She's like, Bonbon, you look kind of fat, and like pokes you in the stomach.
You're like, all right, there's no need to throw around insults. All right, I know that we don't have the best past, but like. All right, you didn't need to go there. So at least, first off, what the hell are you doing on the mountain in the snow? And second of all, is everything good? Because you're going to be seeing your cousin a lot more. We're out here for good.
So she starts by being like, "What do you mean? Why are we out on this mountain? We're a tough gang. We can go wherever we." And then someone nearby, you hear like, "Students," and you look over and this like old lady, like holding like a little bag under her arm, and there's like a bunch of other kids just dressed like normal kids, and she like waves. She's like, "Students, students, we're carrying on." And then Black Skull looks at you and she's like, "I have to go."
You're like, all right, cousin, I'll see you around.
And she like looks at your stomach and then looks at Breakdown and just sighs and like turns around and walks off.
And I think I just like turn around to Breakdown like literally nothing happened and just go back on our merry way.
Okay.
Yeah. If like Bonbon like just well, so shall we continue? And I'm like still stuck there going. They almost, but are you sure are you sure you're okay? Like jog after her.
So we finally like I think get established in Tokyo, and we want to get some people together to tell them like what our plans are. And
Yeah, I mean,
obviously, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say we can cut as dramatically as you want. Like if you want to cut to the like hospital and you're like you got your little babby there, like we could do that. Like you can have the family there, or like you can frame it up however you want.
Well, I mean, I kind of thought, you know, Dad Bon's there. Maybe like we should just fly Mom Bon out to Tokyo. So I
Yes.
feel
I
like
actually-
I have to make the call to have her actually come out to Tokyo.
Yeah. Okay. Like, do you want to do that? Do you want to like play out the phone call, or do you want to have her like just do the hospital scene where she's already there and have that conversation with her there? Because like I kind of like that being the reunion too. But it's up to you.
I feel like maybe if there could be a half and half, it would be good.
Okay.
And if you know, just go with it on this
Yeah,
one. Yeah. So.
So
I'm
where are
calling-
you? Do we get to see the inside of the new apartment?
Yes, and it's
fancy
fucking
new Japanese
badass.
house? Yeah. Okay.
It's fucking badass. In fact, the
Awesome.
whole thing is like this. It's basically like one giant glass enclosure, and then right in the middle, there's like a giant 6x6 just fucking bird atrium that's filled with all of these like birds that just chill and go in and out. It's
Is
fucking
Spy
amazing.
Cat there?
Spy Cat, of course.
Of course.
I was gonna say, is Spy Cat where you you were the last ones with Spy Cat,
Spy
right?
Cat probably shows up at the airport right when you guys get off and is just waiting for you.
Yeah. Wait a second, I didn't put you on the. Never mind. Okay, so
All
you're in
right.
your like super fancy apartment.
Yeah, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna make the call, and I call.
Do you want a tea? Do you want a coffee? What can I bring you? Can I help?
All right, anything that I can punch that won't be damaged, like a few pillows
I'll
or
bring
something.
you pillows. Yeah,
Okay,
I'll bring you pillows.
So I want to see real quick, like breakdown, because this has always been kind of a question between the two of you. So you can see that like yeah, Bonbon is like all like tense and weird, and maybe when you're like, do you need anything? We catch like the reflection of like Raven like on some piece of furniture.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever like? And I guess Raven is like imparting to you, like you could just calm her down right now. You could just be like, it's cool, you're chill.
Which I would obviously never do. And I think
Yeah, I guess that's the question, right? There's that moment of temptation where you're like, I could just make you calm down.
But like I think anytime Raven shows up to be like, I mean, we could just like deal with it, right?
Yeah,
like
it's totally just
it's just
deal.
totally fine. We don't even have to get her a drink, right? Like
She's
it's
just being annoying again.
yeah. I think there's a very specific look that I always wind up giving him in those moments where it's like, Raven.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe as you leave the room to go and get a tea, yeah, Raven like hops after you, looking as disappointed as a bird could be. Where he's just like, "Oh, come on, it'd be funny," like hopping after you. All right, so you got your phone in front of you.
Right.
What's and so you just dial up
I
your
pick
mom?
it up and I dial,
Okay. All right.
knowing that it's like 9:30 at night.
Yeah. Okay.
She doesn't
So-
like to be called after 9.
Yeah, totally. So it rings a couple of times, and then it picks up, and like the dramatic like overdone mom voice of like, hello? Oh, who is this?
I like don't say anything for a second because I'm like, oh shit, she's gonna be.
Hello?
Hi,
Oh,
hi,
come on, you
hi,
can't-
mom. Hi.
So there's
Hi.
yeah,
It's
there's
me.
this
It's Bon Bon.
yeah, there's a sigh, and she's like, I was trying to sleep. Why are you calling me this late? I have to
I-
get up in the morning.
Ma, I wouldn't have
I
called
was
you if
watching
it
the
wasn't
television.
important.
There's so much crime. You don't
Wait,
understand.
I
It's so
thought you were
stressful living
sleeping.
here.
What? How can you sleep and watch television at the same time, Ma? I don't. When did you
Listen
grow
to
a
me.
new pair of
When you're
eyeballs?
my age, you're gonna understand. Sometimes you could just sleep anytime you're doing anything. I fall asleep all the time now at work. I fall asleep in my car.
Ma, that
I don't
ain't
know. I
nothing
think there's
new.
something wrong with my blood. I talked
I
to
don't.
the doctor. He gave me some herbal supplements. I don't know. I don't think they're working.
Well, I'm glad you're going to the
And
doctor at
you
least.
hear like a pill bottle like rattling. She's like, "Look, I don't even understand half the things on this bottle. What is this stuff?"
You're not supposed to understand it if it's good for you, Ma. You're just supposed to take it. If the doctor says to take it, Ma, then that's what you
I've been
gotta do. But
calling your
listen,
father every day trying to get him to have one of those Japanese doctors look at the bill for me. I don't understand any of this.
well, you know what? I'll tell that's perfect then because, Ma, I need you to come out to Tokyo. I need to share some things with you.
That's how it's gonna be, is it? Everybody move away from poor old mom, and I'm
What?
here in Seattle working at the DMV by myself.
I mean,
And first your father leaves, and then you run away with that elf
Ma.
boyfriend of yours.
oh, I thought you like my elf boyfriend. What?
Listen, I'm allowed to like your
I-
boyfriend. He's very charming, but I don't like the influence he has on you.
What do you
He's
mean the
changed.
influence?
I see these things. A mother is worried about her
I've gone
daughter.
straight, Ma. I listen. Will you come? I mean, do you like? Will you come to Tokyo? Do I?
Listen,
I have to tell
do you have
tell
any
you?
idea
Do
how
I
expensive
just
a flight
blow
to
it?
Tokyo is? It's like,
I'm gonna pay for it, Ma. I'm gonna take care of all of it for you.
oh, you're gonna pay for it now? Sure, with all the money your father's given you. Well, I want to know where my money is. I'm still living in this tiny apartment.
Ma,
Your
you know
father
what?
told me.
This is what you wanted. This is what I'm dying, Ma. I'm dying. I've got like several days to live. I need you to be out here immediately, Ma. I don't know what else to tell you, but if you don't come out, you're not going to see your lovely daughter before I die. I would like to see you once before I die. I'm not really excited about this phone call that I have to make here, and Mom, I'm begging you just this one time. Just this one time. Let me put you on a plane and bring you out here. I promise you it'll be worth your while.
So she stops. There's like a moment of like actual silence, and she's like, "Oh, you learned so much from your dear old mom. You're getting real good at this. All right, sweetheart. You send me the email with all the details. I'll come out there. I'll see you and your boyfriend in your fancy apartment, and maybe your father. God forbid he takes himself away from his desk for 5 minutes.
I'll make sure you see him, Ma. I'm going to send it over right now. And like she's got a flight, like
Yeah.
a day later.
Sure. You just like call up your personal assistant and make it happen.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. All right. So is there another like a family reunion scene that we get of all of you?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. So breakdown. Do we see your? I mean, your parents have been like a big mystery the whole time. Do they come to Japan, or are you alone? Like,
I don't really tell them about it.
Yeah.
It's a combination of like I'm not very close with them, and I also don't want them to know that my totem has changed.
Yeah. Can I do a thing with your parents? Can I take some liberty here? Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so that phone call, and we fade up on like a really intense looking like corporate boardroom, and it overlooks a city, and the subtitle underneath says Portland, tier territory, and we see a woman with her back to the door to us. And she's like long blonde hair, and she's looking out the window, and the door opens, and someone who is like obviously like her assistant or something, someone who's like a servant basically like comes in, and he's holding a like an envelope, And so he walks in, and this whole conversation takes place in Sparethiel. And so we get the human translation,
The shortened version, yeah.
yeah. And the assistant says, "I have news, Your Majesty," and she turns, and she says, "Is it about my son?" And he nods, and he's like, "Yes," and like hands her the envelope, and he says, "This comes direct from Special Intelligence." And she just nods as she opens it and reads it. And she smiles, just like the iciest, tiny, like hint of a smile. And she says, "Huh, we're to have an heir." And the servant nods and says, "Yes, Your Majesty, it would appear so." And she says, "Very well. Keep an eye on them." And he like bows to her and like walks out. And Breakdown's mom, the like elf queen, turns back to looking out the window thoughtfully as we fade out to
Was Spy Cat the servant?
It was Spy Cat all along.
we just see Spy Cat on the table just being like, "Yes, good." So so the last little like sequence, then I guess the reunion, maybe we cut over to
It actually we have a setting for it.
Okay.
So, like it would be at Breakdown's new clinic.
Okay.
And let's just say that I'm actually on a hospital bed.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I've hired this lovely orc lady who does a lot of midwifing for metahumans, and she's there, trying to be as comforting as possible to this entire family who are very loud. as I'm like holding Bonbon's hand, just trying to be as supportive as possible.
Awesome. Okay, so I think we fade in on on Breakdown to get the contrast between like his mother and him. And so you're like you have your baby.
Baby,
how does that
say?
Yeah.
Yeah, baby, you say.
Baby, huh?
Or
And
is
then
there
two
something
pop
else?
out.
Ah, nice. Okay. All right. So we get that scene, and then so the midwife like brings you your two little like your babies. Okay. Cool.
Yes.
And that is that when Mom Bon and Bon Dad are allowed in, or
Exactly.
okay.
Yeah, I'm not having
like-
her in here when I'm doing this thing. It's not gonna
typically
it's not
they
gonna
would,
happen.
It would be fine if they were in here, but Bon insisted that they needed to stay out, so I made
you
up a
can't-
big lie.
Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Yeah, I
It was
made
a
up like a
great
big
lie.
lie for them.
Okay. Yeah. So Mom Bon comes in, and we see your mom and your dad together, kind of like for the first time, and he seems like a little like distant and kind of uncomfortable, but can't help but like keep smiling. Like he keeps like he's just got this like stupid grin on his face the whole time. And Mom Bon comes running over to you, and she's like, "Oh my God, which one of these babies is your baby? I don't understand. Why do you have two babies?"
They're
I'm sorry,
both
ma'am,
my
which
baby, Ma. Like, I mean, you were too much, so I had to give you two grandkids because you would probably complain if I only gave you one. So there you go. I worked hard for the. Actually, it was a team effort here, but we did two for you, Ma. All right. Double grandma. You like that?
She picks them up, and she's like, "Oh my God, oh look, they're so sweet, they're adorable, they're like little candies. Oh, my little bonbons, I love you." And she's like kissing them and like snuggling the little babies. And you look past her at your dad, who's like standing there with his arms folded, and he just kind of gives you this look like, "Yes, you've made your
Mr.
mother proud.
Miyagi, like look of
Yeah.
approval.
Good work." Yeah. And and I think that maybe we kind of like fade out of that scene on Mom Bon like going over to Breakdown and like throwing her arms around you and like giving you a big mom hug. You have to like kneel down because she's kind of short.
And then sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and she's saying things like, she's like, "Oh, I'm so glad that she met you. You've really like turned her life around, and I know you're gonna live forever, so you can take care of these babies until wait." And she like looks, and she's like, and like looking at the babies like, uh-oh. And like she's realizing like, I don't know how this works. Are they elf? Are they gonna live forever too? Oh, I'm so confused. It doesn't matter. We can talk about it later. She's like
all right,
herself.
Ma, settle down, Ma. We got plenty of time, so you know, you could get plenty of baby time.
She's like, yeah, she's like, oh, I can't wait to tell everybody back at the DMV about these tiny little babies. And she's like, takes out her camera and starts like taking pictures of you. And I think that, we kind of like fade out on just like Mom Bon's excited babbling over the babies.
So if that's like the final fade out scene, then all of a sudden there's like the secondary one where then suddenly an email comes to Bonbon's email and it says, please need help.
Yeah, we hear the email noise first, right? It fades out to darkness and then there's that like boop, boop noise. And then in the font it comes up just on the black screen. What is there a reply? So it's like, yeah, Bonbon, we need help.
Yes. And then
cool. You've been having babies. You can't get out of it. You got your legit business working for your dad, but
you gotta give something for all the fan fiction people to work off of. So.
People are already talking about Mirrorshades, the next generation, featuring twins and Max.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Max could be a kid.
Old Mr. Extreme.
Oh my god.
He's their robot mentor.
It's just Mr. Extreme, but with like huge Crusher style arms on it, and it just like.
Yeah, he walks around like a gorilla or an ape. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so while all this family good feelings are happening, where did our rock star end up? Where did the heart and soul of Bomb Threat go after your Vietnam War moment on that helicopter?
Obviously, in a very dark back alley, you see a limp body because Nightsass was overdosed on cocaine. Except not, but
it'd be rough. Just be like babies, yay, and then just Nightsass dead in an alley.
That's actually how Hadia got into the coke game. Believe it or not, is through Nightsass.
It was Nightsass's fault.
Yeah,
the darkest timeline. It's actually it's one of those like Where Are They Now like TV specials.
Yeah.
It's just her body, her lifeless body.
Yeah. So yeah, what happens with Nightsass?
I guess because like I hinted to this stuff, but to give context to the character first, Nightsass was definitely a product of celebrity culture. So I know at one point they had her full names up on the overlays, but her real name was Ryan Starr. And they had one flashback that I never did, where you find out that as she was working on a commercial set when she was 3 or 4 years old, she's still being called Ryan Starr, which means that was actually her birth name. Like her parents from the start even gave her a fake, silly name,
Mm-hmm.
And so, so it's not that she's self-absorbed because she's a bad person. It's just that's how she was raised, to be very materialistic. And so she's always had this really superficial barrier to protect her. And she really believes that everyone she meets wants to hang out with her and, is very enamored by her. But she doesn't think anyone actually really cares about her. This is kind of evidenced by Crusher moving on and now, Breakdown and Bon have moved on, and that happened a day later, so.
Yeah, right, everyone's like, mission's over, peace out. And so yeah, I imagine like Nightsass is like, but this is what I do, where's everybody going? Like
yeah, like she really lacks self-awareness, but yeah, she really gets those feelings. So I mean, again, it's not that she's a bad person or anything like that, but she's kind of been coming around in the last few years. And she's really been feeling like there's more to life. And I was actually completely serious when I said that the character got into Shadowrunning because there was the Soylent Osiris scam, that she wanted to expose in the industry. Like, she actually really jeopardized her career and everything by doing that. And so she was trying to make a difference in the world. So she wants to stay in the Shadowrunning business. So I'd say that it starts with her having a conversation with Go-Kart.
Okay. So yeah, maybe the two of you, because Gavin's kind of in the same position, right, where he tried to give up being a Shadowrunner and then got pulled back in. So maybe the two of you are in like a diner like that night after the mission or something, and he's got like on the table he's got like kind of what's left of the only drone that he could get away with, and he's just like looking at it, and you both have like soy calf there, and yeah, he looks up at you and he's like, well, this thing's fucked. Everything's kind of fucked. What are you gonna do now?
We really don't have to be drinking the soy calf anymore. Breakdown's not here. And I flagged down the waitress. There's something else.
Yeah. He looks at it and he's like, oh, force of habit, I guess. I mean, I thought I was done with all this, but things kind of went sideways. I don't know. And he like you can see him. He's kind of like cracking a little bit.
Don't you feel like people might finally like you now, though? You know, you really did something.
He looks at you. He's like, I don't even know what that's supposed to mean. Finally. I tried to be friends with you people for so long, and everyone was such an asshole to me, and you only started paying attention as soon as... You know what? It doesn't matter. None of that shit matters. He like looks at the drone. He's like, maybe this is for the best. But what about you? I mean, you have other skills. I saw you in that helicopter. You're kind of a badass. Are you... And he kind of like gets awkward and is like, what are you gonna do? Like, take me with you.
Well, first I wanted to interject and say, like, what's for the best? You know, I started this, like, really huge feeling of self-assuredness comes over me because I, like, totally thought he was going to be on board, and now maybe he's going to abandon me like everyone else did. Like, what do you mean? What's for the best?
Yeah, he looks at the wreck of his drone. He's like, oh, just the guns and the drones and the hardware and the constantly fearing for your life, and then the occasional bouts of being rich and then just being destitute again because you have to pay to fix all your broken shit. Maybe it's time to just sweep all that shit away and disappear. Maybe it's time for Go-Kart to go away for real. Maybe it's okay just being Gavin.
No. Are you listening to yourself?
And kind of looks at you. He's like, what do you mean, no? I don't...
It's okay to be Gavin?
He's like, yeah. I mean, you know, I could get a job at like a car dealership. I have skills that don't involve killing people.
Gavin, no. Go-Kart. When I first met you, you were trying to build a drone to water plants. Don't you finally feel like you're doing something with your life? Don't you finally feel like you're actually alive?
He looks at it. He's like, you know, for a while there, it was pretty intense. I haven't been shot at like that in a long time. Felt kind of good. And he like looks at the drone. He's like, I could fix this. Yeah.
How old are you, by the way?
Kind of like squints at you. 28. Why?
Okay, good. Even if we die young.
He nods and he looks at the coffee. He's like, screw this shit. You got any more of that Nova Coke? Let's go get in some trouble.
You know, like, my friends actually died from Nova Coke. Like, dying young, yeah, okay, it's the phrase. But I mean, like, if we could just
and like
reserve that.
He's standing up on the bench now, and he's just like, yeah, let's go. Come on.
Yeah. Have you ever done cocaine before?
It's like, I mean, no, but there's a first time for everything, right? Die young, live fast, that shit. Let's go. Come on.
I take some of the fake sugar sweetener as we leave.
Yeah, so that's the end of that sequence. You're like, yeah, no, let's go. And then you start to leave, and you just like reach over and you're like, just take this non-dairy creamer or whatever. Okay. All right. So do you do the Shadowrunner thing with Go-Kart for a little while?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I never, I think at one point, I don't know if I actually did it, but I was going to, yeah, I don't know if I did it, but I was going to write an email to my mom saying that and just like touring this whole time. So I never told her about the shadow running thing. And so
Yeah.
I would still just keep up the same lie.
Yeah, okay. So maybe, I mean, maybe that's the next thing, right? You're in like some like crappy like slum in like Saigon or something, writing an email like in the middle of a run on some like cobbled together matrix jack that go-kart, and your like new Decker friend built for you to keep in contact. Then you're like they're sleeping and you're writing an email to your mom to be like, "Dear mom, still on tour." Very exciting.
Everyone
Um
loves me.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Everyone still loves me, mom. Well, and so what's the tone of that email, right? Like, cause I'm getting this kind of like, you have the child star vibe and you're like trying to be like, no, mom, I'm still super famous. Like, you
Well, I
know?
am.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
You're big in Asia.
everywhere actually. It's kind of just well, like the flashback I had involving my mom before. It's kind of like I'm afraid of her, and I'm afraid of failure. And it was
Totally.
already really big to try and expose the industry. And that was already really painful and everything. And I don't want to fully do that again.
Hmm.
I want to do
So,
things, but without the consequences of doing them.
yeah, that makes sense. So is your goal then to like just like be a real Shadowrunner? Like, do you focus on that and like get good at it?
Yeah, man.
Cool. Okay. So yeah. So I think what happens
Yeah.
then is like you finish your email and you send it, and then we hear some like gunfire outside, and a woman who is sleeping kind of with her back to you, in this little like hovel that you're hiding in. She like wakes up and turns to you, um, and she's your Decker that you've been like doing these runs with, and she kind of wakes up to the sound of gunfire, and she's like, well, I guess it's time to go. Come on, go kart. And he like gets up and picks up his drone, and you hear Mr. Extreme like start to hum and like lift off, and they both look at you, and she's like, well, Night says you're the boss, and you get this moment that they're both looking at you, and like, what do you do?
I lead them into combat.
Yeah, yeah. You like put on your shades, and you're like, let's fucking do this, and like go.
Yeah, man.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. So the three of you like run out, run out into danger. Cool. I like how of all of everybody Night's Ass stays. She just becomes a badass Shadowrunner like for
Not-
reals.
Not only that, but becomes like the leader of a group of shadows. Like I
Yeah.
love it. It's so good.
Yeah. Totally. That's awesome. Cool. So is there any other Night's Ass stuff that you wanna show us? Do we see
I
anything
feel
else on
like we
Night's
go
Ass?
and we break Taiga out. It's the least I can do for him.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so maybe that's the next scene, is that it's like we get this kind of blurry, like kind of gray scene. There's obviously somebody wearing like an orange jumpsuit, and he's like lifting weights, and as he pushes up, the focus of the camera is like up where his arms end, so we see his fist and it says Young on one hand, and then he like does it again, it says Taiga on the other, and then we just see young Taiga like lifting weights, and they're out in a yard. He's like lifting weights, and we see like it pans over, and somebody's walking over, and we hear somebody say, "Yo, Tiger, you almost done?" And he looks over, and we see Maurice standing there wearing the same like prison jumpsuit, and young Tiger like hooks the weights on, and he gets up, and he walks over to Maurice, and he's like, "Yes, I think it's almost time." And I think when he says that, there's like an explosion, and one of the walls like blows in, and there's like concrete dust everywhere. And then through the bright light on the other side, we see Night's Ass emerge into the yard, and there's like alarms going off, and maybe like a guard comes running up with his baton, and you like karate chop him in the throat or something. You just do the cool, like you don't even look, just and like knock him down.
You do a
After I do
karate
a
chop
flip.
and then bring the hand back and take a line off your hand.
Yeah, and then behind you, like go-kart and some of the other things, and young Taiga looks at you, and he's like, Night Ass, my God, you're so cool.
It's good to have you back, Taiga.
And he nods sternly and like runs past you, And Maurice, I think Maurice comes up, and this is all like as chaos is going on. Maybe you've got like your goons have come in and they're like shooting at the guards, and you're just standing there like perfect with the wind blowing in your hair. And yeah, Maurice comes over, and he's like, yeah, it took you long enough, but I guess better late than never.
I'm sorry, do I know you?
Yeah, and he just shakes his face like, God damn. walks out through the rubble hole. Cool. So maybe we fade out on Night's Ass, just like standing on the pile of rubble, like leading the team, looking cool, while like guards are getting killed and knocked down in slow motion. All the prisoners are like escaping from the prison.
Blood everywhere.
Yeah, totally. Complete mess. Awesome.
Yep.
Good stuff. I think that covers everybody. I think that's all the major characters accounted for. Good work, everybody.
There you
Thanks.
go.
Did it.
So you've
Sorry, go ahead.
prepared some questions, right? Or
Yeah.
you've pulled some questions from a thread, right?
Yeah. Reddit was kind enough to give us some questions about the show. So yeah, why don't we round this section out with a couple of questions, and then we can just hang out and talk about Shadowrun.
Okay.
Sounds good.
When we get back, yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So some of these are for the whole group. Some of these are specific to individual players, and I'm curious about these as much as anybody. Some of these are really good. So like this one, and I'm curious, Kaitlyn. I want to ask you about this one. So this question
I think I know
says,
what it's gonna be.
I loved how you kept Adam on his toes when role playing Night's Ass, especially when she was getting bomb threat into and sometimes out of trouble. Was it your intention to mess with me? To mess with the DM, or were you just role playing your character, or was it a little bit of both? Because I'd love to talk to you about that, because this campaign, over and over, there are times where I'm like, yeah, I'm adequately prepared for what might happen. That's fine. 20 minutes in, Night's Ass does something completely out of left field, and I'm like, well, let's take a break, everybody. So yeah, so what was your thinking in that? I think that it was perceived a lot, especially early on before people got into the like vibe of Night's Ass, as you just doing random stuff. But was there a pattern to Night's Ass's madness?
I mean, not like a rational pattern or anything. It was definitely 100% roleplay. I don't think it was ever to mess with you, because I put like the character first, as much as I'd love to say that I'm that good with screwing with you, not really. But like I said,
I mean that works too. Like
no,
Yeah.
like I said, Night's Ass is under so much stress. Like, she might seem chaotic, but it's just because she doesn't react to things like a normal person would. A normal, stable, well-adjusted person, She
Right.
was concerned about materialistic things while her life was in danger. And she was always suppressing like a lot of negative emotions and trying to channel her PR pop persona, because that's always like how she learned to cope with things, So that's just like it might have seemed like silly, but I mean there are a lot of people that there are people that when asked if they need to get when told they need a life-saving surgery but it would disfigure their face, they start saying like, no, like I don't want the surgery, like.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Awesome.
just the character.
I really like that. Like Night's Ass was unpredictable, but it wasn't like you were just picking random things at any given time. Like I always kind of got the impression that you knew what Night's Ass was about pretty much from the get-go, and then was reacting accordingly. And that was really fun.
I
It's
mean,
cool
I
to really
think
get a little
it's-
fun on that.
I think it's fair to say from a player's perspective, at the beginning of Mirrorshades, I absolutely had no idea. Like, it took me as a player a while to be like, she's being Night's Ass.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, totally.
yeah, like, and not just trying to fuck with, to just do it. So, like, that was interesting, like, even from a player perspective, that, like, that developed, and then it's like, I knew also that I couldn't even expect, because there was actually one time I remember being almost like mad at Kaitlyn because, the Night's Ass, right? Because like it was we were going for a plan, but then something that Night's Ass did like kind of changed the direction, and I was like, wow, but that's totally what Night's Ass would have done, and that was always an awesome part of Mirrorshades.
I actually watched 2 documentaries on famous people, and one of them was on, I don't know like her name, Heidi Montag, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so
of MTV fame.
there's a 2 hour so kind of like fake fame, you know what I mean? Like really like low level, lowbrow fame. And a lot of the stuff that she did was just totally nonsensical to me, you know? Like I was like, yeah, that's totally what Knights has to do, I guess.
Yeah. Fame makes aliens of some people, I think.
Yeah,
That's
man.
cool. Well, and that's very much in alignment with playing like with the universe of Shadowrun, right? Where it's like there's these hyper famous people who for some reason are also Shadowrunners, and playing one is and that's why I was excited, because I'd never played a game of Shadowrun with anybody who'd done the kind of like rocker archetype, and I think
Yeah.
Nightshades was a really interesting place to go there.
I think it's really powerful for what we were doing with the because I heard that with combat there's really only one way to get good combat because guns never hit and they do like no damage, and then a bunch of other combat's really weak in the Shadowrun like one rule set, and so I think that having the charisma character, I think it was really strong in the end, honestly.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, for sure. So, question for JP and Wheat, and this one, and this I think this will span both this show and some of the other shows the two of you have both been on. But
All right.
so
We'll do
the
this question, then
character-
we'll take a break.
Sure, the character dynamic of Crusher and Bonbon and like fighting over leadership of Bomb Threat. It was one of those things that looked like a lot of fun to roleplay. Did you, as players, enjoy it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I did.
Is that something like, because I think it can be hard to tell, and this comes up a lot with different things where if characters are in conflict, it can seem like the players aren't having a good time. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I loved it. I mean, I assume that JP is the same way, but like I think obviously Swan Song helped in that regard because like
Yeah.
Higgs is the captain of the ship, and Piani just like responds to how Higgs is, but never quite questions leadership. But so we already have that sort of like we can produce good bickering between our characters. I think that the fact that then leadership became an object of bickering actually like helped with Crusher to advance as a character, and then for Bonbon to actually get to where she was at. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The other thing too is none of it was ever like me and Wheat never talked to one another and said like, "Hey, I'm gonna be a dick to you." It kind of just like happened
Right.
for 30
Right.
weeks.
Right.
Yeah, just kind of happened over and over.
And there really
over.
was no like, at least for me, I don't know if it was for him. There was no like line in terms of what I couldn't say.
Yeah.
At least for his character, I would definitely like. It was somewhat reserved. I was somewhat reserved when it came to Knight's Ass and Breakdown, just for whatever reason. But I felt like as a character, Bonbon could like I could push however far I wanted, and Wheat's character would like be able to roll with that. I think I did in a lot of episodes as well.
You know, I could have taken it, JP.
Possibly. I don't know. There was a couple episodes where I was pretty rude to you.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's my take on it.
That's definitely a thing that people are curious, I think, about, in that we're playing a show like with an audience and they don't get to see necessarily like the relationship between the people that are playing the characters too, because I think that does affect how far you can kind of push with different
Sure.
people too.
Yeah.
I mean, like JP and I have been working together for many, many years too, so it's
Yeah,
not like
exactly.
it's usually a surprise. In fact, I think the more comfortable you are with the person, like the more dynamic any sort of in-game
Yeah.
relationship can be, because it works nicely like that.
Yep. I would agree.
Cool.
I would agree. The other thing too is that I had no idea what Crusher was going to be, because I started off like the first 7 weeks or something without being able to talk.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
he was kind of just like a shell of a character, I guess, back then.
Yeah, well, all the characters kind of started with like one thing that was true about them, and then we got to see them expand more and more over time.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's take a break. We'll do like 30 minutes of questions, and then we'll talk about Shadowrun, and then I think we could wrap it up in 3 hours, don't you?
Yeah, I think so.
Cool.
Probably.
All right, let's take a break. We'll go into hour 3, the final hour here, as we talk more and more about Roleplay Mirrorshades, as this is the final episode. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. We'll see you guys then.